In this video, we are going to be pulling in data from our unique carriers worksheet that will allow us to populate a column here in our flight data that displays the name of the carrier that made a flight. As you look at the data, you will notice that we have in column C these unique carrier codes. But the actual name of the carrier doesn't exist anywhere. And as we move forward with our analysis, it's going to be a lot more user-friendly to work with the names of the carriers than it is these obscure codes. Now, if we look over at our unique carriers worksheet, let's click over there really quickly. And you can see that there are two columns in this table. You've got column A, which contains the codes that match the values in the carrier code column back on the flight data tab. And then you've got the description column, which contains the actual carrier names. Let's begin by making a selection somewhere within the body of this unique carriers table. And let's also format this data range as a table. So I'm going to click in cell A2. If you're not already on the home tab in the ribbon, navigate there. And we're going to select the button to format as table. Pick a style. Where's the data for your table? It looks like it made that selection correctly. However, this time it is not recognizing that the table has headers, but it does, so I'm going to check that box and then click on OK. And that's going to format this for me. I'm also going to go up and hover between columns B and C, get those crosshairs and double click to auto expand the width of column B to accommodate whatever is the widest value in that column. I just think it helps with readability. The important thing that we need to do here is that we should now be on the design tab in the ribbon, and in the upper left hand corner in that table name box we are going to name this unique carrier. So again, I'm giving the table name the same name as the worksheet name, and you will see the value of doing this here in a moment. So I'm going to name it unique carriers, hit enter to commit that name, and now we're ready to go back over to the flight data tab. Now let's insert a new blank column where we will populate those carrier names. We're going to insert that to the right of column C. So I'm going to right click on column D, select insert from the menu, and then in the column heading, I'm going to replace column 1 with carrier name. We are going to populate this field with what is called a VLOOKUP, which stands for vertical lookup function. And what VLOOKUPs allow you to do is they allow you to look up values in a table and then retrieve other values in that table based on that lookup value. It's easier to do it than to talk about it. So let's dive in. In cell D2, I'm going to type my equal sign and then start typing VLOOKUP. As soon as I type the L, I'm going to hit my tab button to auto-complete the VLOOKUP function, get that opening parenthesis, and now you can see that there are 4 arguments to this function. The first piece is what is your lookup value. So what value do you want looked up? Well, the value that I want looked up is my unique carrier value. So I am going to select the value in cell C2, and then I'm going to hit my comma to advance to the next portion of the argument, which is the table array. So you've told me what value you want me to look up. What lookup table contains these values? And that's the unique carrier table that we just created. So I'm just going to start typing unique. And because we formatted the table on the unique carriers worksheet as a table and gave it a name, it's going to populate here. So we don't even have to navigate over to that worksheet. We can just type and then, either click or tab it into the formula. So we want our table array is the unique carriers. And then it's going to ask column index number. So what column in our unique carriers table contains the data that we want to return here? I'm going to click, you don't have to do this, you can just watch. I'm going to click over just to show you what we're doing here. So if you look at the structure of the unique carriers table, we've got 2 columns. The first column contains the lookup values, and in order to use a VLOOKUP, that always has to be the case. And then the value that we want returned is in the description column, which is the second column in the table. So because it is the second column, the third piece of that argument is that we're just going to type in the number 2 because it is the second column in the lookup that contains the data that we want. The fourth argument in the VLOOKUP function is this range lookup where you have to say, is it okay to have an approximate match, or do the codes have to exactly match in order for me to return a value? And in this instance, it is very important that we get an exact match. So I'm going to navigate to false and hit tab to feed that into the function, and then type my closing parenthesis. I'm going to hit enter, which is going to take me back over to the flight data worksheet, and now you can see our carrier name column is populated with values. Let's do a real quick spot check to just see that everything came through as it should. There should be no blanks. We shouldn't see any errors here because every flight had to be conducted by a carrier. I'm not seeing any errors, any issues, so I think we're good here. So now we've got those carrier name values into our flight data worksheet so that we can use them for analysis later on down the road.